to finally see this report coming back from staff. Councillor Lewis, you asked me to pull this.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this one outside of the other consent items. This is a long-standing and important issue for the Argyle community, for our veterans, and for those who have spent so much time and energy maintaining this park. And colleagues, I want to recognize today Larry Lauer is up in the gallery. He is putting countless hours out there cleaning that park, maintaining it, helping keep the spirit of that site alive. Joyce Larsh is in the gallery as well. She's the chair of the Argyle Community Association, which has formally done an Adopt the Park program for this site, and they organize 2 cleanups a year in the park as well. And then we also have representatives in the gallery, Randy Warden, who is the Zone A District Commander for the Royal Canadian Legion, Renee McKinnon, who's the past chair of the 427 Air Force Association Wing, Barry Sandler, who's the current chair of the 427 Air Force Association Wing. Gus, of course, is also a member at the Air Force Association Wing, and they're here united today. There has been a lot of discussion about which sites are appropriate, how this site, if it goes forward, should look. Every one of these people has been consulted on multiple occasions, and it doesn't stop with them. There's been broad community consultations. Mr. McPherson and Mr. McGonigal hosted the last stakeholders consultation. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was the end of May, out at the East London Public Library. And I'll talk about renaming that the Argyle Library at the Library Board. But I appreciate the time and effort that they came out on an evening and spent with the community hearing about what the vision was for this space. And at the end of the day, the vision for this space is to have a park that's a passive, reflective space where people in the community can walk and sit and reflect on the sacrifices made by those who served in the First World War from our community. It's going to find a good home there next to the Charlie Fox Memorial Overpass. Charlie, of course, was a World War II flying ace and veteran, and Trooper Wilson Place, which commemorates Trooper Mark Wilson, who fell in service to the country in Afghanistan. Sorry, I get a little choked up. The Wilsons are a great family, and I've known them for a long time, and their loss, naming a street after Mark is the least we can do. This is a tribute to our veterans that is meant to be respectful. It's meant to honor their service. It's not meant to be a flashy parade ground. It's not meant to host large community gatherings on a regular basis. It's meant to be a place where people can pause and reflect. And if you drive by there, you'll see people out walking their dogs, people just sitting quietly on the benches, sometimes reading a book, sometimes not. And the space isn't perfect, and that's reflected in the report. We have some things we do need to do. We need an accessible pathway from the sidewalk to the monument. We do need some parking and a curb cut, particularly so that when we do have those remembrances of the anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge or the smaller community Remembrance Day service, because I think it's important for us to reflect on the fact that not everybody can come downtown to the cenotaph. Sometimes those community services are as valuable or even more valuable to those who can't get downtown. So I want to thank everybody who's been involved. And this will not be the only Vimy tribute in the city. Just yesterday, the 427 wing, where there's a living guard of honor planted, has made the decision to call their space on their land Vimy Flight Park. It will be a private park, but it will certainly be something that will be an added attraction to the growing destination that the wing and the area around it with the Jet Aircraft Museum and the Secrets of Radar Museum is becoming. London has a long, proud military history, and rightfully so. And I know that there are people who say, well, there's not enough consultation been done. There's other sites that might matter. Well, we've consulted. and we've consulted and we've listened and we've put this off. Today, colleagues, I'm asking you to support this recommendation. Let's move this forward to council. And for Remembrance Day, let's have a Vimy Ridge Park officially declared in this city. It's important to remember the men and women who have served in every conflict under the Canadian Forces. Well, in World War I, it was before we had a Canadian Forces, when we served with the British forces, right up until today, and all the peacekeeping missions, the Korean War, the World War II veterans. These folks, some of them are, well, the World War I veterans are gone. And the World War II veterans are passing into history. So it does fall to our hands to keep the remembrance of what they did alive. So let's just finish with, the appropriate ending to this. We will remember them. We have to remember them lest we forget.
Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Very briefly, Chair, I would like to acknowledge the veterans and Legion members in our gallery today. Having come from a family where two of my uncles served in the Second World War, as did my father, 2 New Brunswick Rangers and 1 Merchant Navy, and with one uncle that didn't come home. He's buried in Belgium. And I was honored some years ago to be the first family member to pay tribute. So what are we doing here with this? We're paying tribute, and we're showing great honor. I won't repeat all the thoughtful comments Councillor Lewis has said. That's exactly the right things to acknowledge. But I do want to add my support to this and thank our veterans and Legion members for their thoughtful support, and for all of us as a community to remember them as well.
Anybody else? Councillor Sully.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, I just wanted to thank my colleagues for voicing their support for this. In particular, Ward Councillor Shawn Lewis. He's been very active on this, even before coming to council. So I want to thank him for his efforts on this, and thank all the members of the public for attending, and the veterans and all those involved in upkeep and the countless hours of work to make this an amazing effort to tribute those who are no longer with us. Again, thank you all for your service and all your ongoing efforts.
Committee, any others? So I'll just make a few comments from the chair, if that's all right. So it's a couple of years now that this has been going on, and I will admit, when this particular site first came to this committee a couple of years ago, I wasn't convinced that this was the site to appropriately honor this event. And I count the Wilsons as dear friends, especially Shawn as a good friend. And I had discussions with them. I had discussions with commanders at Wolseley Barracks, and a lot of discussions with staff. I'm really pleased to see this how it ended up. I'm pleased to see the community and stakeholder veterans groups, all of the consultation that's taken place. This is everybody coming together for an appropriate ending to this. And I'm glad we didn't rush into anything. And I'm really glad to hear about the adoption of the park, to see the community collaboration continue. So I'm happy to see this, the ending put on this story, and it's not really the ending, it's the ending of this chapter, and it will continue. So Councillor Lewis, I am assuming that you would love to move this motion, and well, we got a lineup for seconders, but I'll go with the mayor on that one. And if there are no other comments or questions, then we can vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.